busted.
What do you mean by busted, officer?
Well, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, right? Like, what are you, a cop? You have to tell me if you're a cop.
No, but what do you mean caught? Like,
I don't know.
Like served. I've been given 100 million DMCA notices. Like you have been violating copyright on your YouTube channel, and most of them are bogus.
Yes.
But I'm assuming that's not what you meant by the question.
No, I mean, in your heart. We're doing.
Oh, is this a Jimmy Carter thing?
Yes,
Have I ever pirated in my heart?
We're doing Catholic confession rules where I don't care about the specifics. I only care about what was in your heart.
Yeah, it's not about whether I got caught. It's like, have you ever
really hoped that somebody didn't open a folder because of the amount of copyrighted content that was in there?
I haven't BitTorrented that many Linux ISOs. Yeah.
Well, in that case, by the way, hello, G. James B. Good to see you guys.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
For anybody wondering, yes, we are back to the low fidelity thing for this week. That's because I have everything
changed to be
assembled.
analog. Oh, sorry.
No, I figured out, Tom, your audio last week, I'm sure it's fine in the processed version that went out on the RSS feed, but the live feed that went out, you were pumped directly into vMix, which means I was the beneficiary of the Rodecaster Pro 2's compression, equalization, and sweetening, but you just had your audio go straight in, and we were slightly off on volumes and
because mine was coming out of a Rodecaster as well. It's just that vMix was then ignoring all of that. It sounds like,
but also vMix has no way to balance it.
Yeah.
What I was working on this weekend was, because there's 2 buses on vMix and 2 buses on the Rodecaster, I was able to almost make it so that your audio feeds right in and you'll be on one of the sliders, but I didn't have time to complete that.
Okay. Gotcha.
Going into this
all
one.
right.
So we're just doing the easy version.
We'll work. This will work. I'm ready to roll then, shall we?
Then let's start the show.
We did it. We did it. Welcome to Cord Killers. We were just trying to find out how to watch what we want, where we want, whenever we want, and we killed the entire video industry. I'm Tom Merritt. Where's the good stuff, Brian?
Oh my gosh. The good stuff is, you know what ashes are like? They're kind of like sand that you can make into a new city. And that's what we're doing here on Cord Killers Reckoning. We own the fact that we killed all the cords, and now we're just trying to help you guys out.
Is this water glass that's filled half with sand, half full? Why, yes. Yes, it is.
That's right. Yeah, man. Thank you to everybody for hanging around for the different day of the week for this episode. I had an international incident. I had to fly to Seattle to get a passport, sneak across the border, give wisdom, and then sneak on back.
Yeah, frostback.
What?
That's when you go north.
Frostback. I see. That's right. Come down from the north. I see.
Quickly move on to the supply.
Supply run.
Back in March, Plex announced that if you wanted to access someone's remote Plex server, one of you needed to be paying. If you don't understand Plex, one of the many things it can do is allow me to say, view Brian's Plex library. He can say, let me invite Tom, and there's a secure way to make sure that it's just me, and then I can access whatever's on his Plex server where he keeps all his media and watch it here in Los Angeles, even though he's in Austin. What Plex was saying in March is, well, one of you got to pay. Either the server owner, in my example, Brian, can pay for Plex Pass for $7 a month, which gets you other things besides that. But if he's paying for Plex Pass, then we're good. I don't have to pay anything. Or if Brian's not paying for Plex Pass, which he doesn't need to do to operate a Plex server, then I would need to pay for a remote watch pass, which would be $2 a month. So much less than paying for an entire Plex Pass. I could also be paying for a Plex Pass, by the way, for my own Plex server, and then I could access Brian's as well. It starts to get complicated if you go down all the roads, but generally speaking, one of us has to be paying. Those rules went into effect on April 29th, but Plex hadn't enforced them until now. Last week, Plex's Roku app was the first to be affected. People were reporting like, hey, I'm trying to get into the Roku Plex and it's telling me one of us needs to pay. Plex said, yep, we're starting to roll this out, starting with the Roku app, and then we're going to move on and have it on Fire TV, Apple TV, Android TV, and our other apps in 2026. So if it hasn't come to your app yet, it will. Brian, this is a very interesting development in the very interesting career of Plex.
Yeah, so stick with me. I'm going to start with safe territory about what we can all agree is hypothetically the case. Hypothetically, a Plex pass is Plex as a server is quite simply the same as me having movies on my computer and you, Tom, physically walking over, hitting the space bar and watching it, only we're doing it remotely. Hypothetically, all of this is legal content and licenses aren't an issue. Hypothetically, also, the payments that are happening just go to cover the expenses for Plex to do all of its Plex stuff, right?
Yeah,
Does that sound correct?
Plex doesn't know what you're watching when it asks for the $2. It's saying in order for your connection to from this server to this server to do things, you need to pay either $2 or $7, depending. And those things, that's not what we're involved with. We're not charging you for the viewing of the video.
Right. Any more than Comcast is in the business of deciding where you go with their internet service that they
I could
provide.
be watching Brian's home movies. I could be watching video from when I was there for the Do Your Weird Thing, or I could be watching Game of Thrones.
Correct.
It doesn't matter to Plex.
That is all theory land. Now let's peek into reality land, where 99% of all this looks to me like piracy. I don't hear a lot of people saying, I loved browsing your academic research papers that were legally acquired via Plex servers. So in reality, you have a whole network of people who have a whole bunch of movies acquired through whatever means. Some of them you could make case on the fringes about them being rarities or legally gray or whatever. Other stuff is straight up black market. But I'm not concerned about moralizing on that part. What I am fascinated by is this is, I'm going to write a box and write here and now. Here and now, what is happening is something that I ain't never seen before, Tom, because we're seeing money enter the equation, and I'm not hearing Hollywood melting down immediately, because previously, if you wanted to use a service like, I think, Popcorn Time, it was called back in the day, to access a bunch of BitTorrented stuff on there, even though, yes, it could be for legal stuff, boy, did they shut that stuff down. Boy, has the Amazon Fire Stick suddenly not allowed you to install a bunch of these front ends. Hollywood spends money to send bruisers around to shut down anything that makes it easy to pirate materials, especially when money gets involved. So I want to start with the first question here, Tom. Right now, I'm assuming that the reason that the reason there's not a big hubbub is because they're slow creeping into this. Is that right? Is this a toe dipping, just a camel's nose under the tent?
It could be that. That seems like a quite likely scenario, is that Plex is on the list, but those big pirators of sports streams, they're higher on the list. So they'll get around to Plex one of these days. I am trying to find how much money Plex gets. They had a $40 million investment round in January 2024, $50 million in 2021. I can't find revenue numbers. They're not a public company, so they don't have to publish those. But if it's getting 40 million rounds, 50 million rounds, that's a lot of money for me and Brian. That's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things. Those illegal sports streamers, they're making 40 million maybe in a month. They're certainly making multiples of 40 per year. So there's more money sloshing around there. There's more money sloshing around in BitTorrent world for the operators of the BitTorrent clients, for the popcorn streaming operators. Plex also has a legal basis that the others don't. Those sports streamers that do the Fire TV stuff, they are serving the content. that is definitely illegal in almost every jurisdiction. I don't have the right to it, but I'm streaming it to people anyway. Plex, as you mentioned earlier, is an infrastructure provider. They are saying we are not providing any way to do piracy. We are providing a way to connect servers. And the fact that you can use servers to exchange information illegally is no different than you can use the internet to exchange information illegally. And granted, Hollywood has gone after ISPs. They have tried, they sued Cox to say they are responsible for the piracy being done. And the judge has said, I don't think they are. You need to go after the people doing the piracy. That's like suing the parking lot where the robbers parked. You can't, say that, well, they provided a place for them to park and wait to rob us. That's not how it works. So Plex is legally defensible. It's also not been put in a position where they had to cooperate. That is the part that really gets me, is why haven't they gone to Plex and said, great, you're not responsible for this, but people are doing it on your network. And by the way, you're not inducing it either. There were some other Napster-like clones that came along and got busted because the judge said, well, you're not just providing a way to exchange information. Basically, you're inducing people to pirate. There's no other reason for you to use this. There are plenty of other reasons to use Plex. And Plex providing live streaming and fast channels, those are things they can point to and go, look, there's plenty of other things you can do. Like piracy isn't the only thing you can do on Plex.
Well,
so that leaves me with my question is like, why haven't they gone to Plex and said, hey, you need to either give us a big old cut, or you need to help us, police this and take DMCA requests when we discover that someone on Plex is sharing pirated information, which would not be hard to discover, I suppose, except that it's not public. It's not on the internet. It's between me and you. And if you and I don't let anyone else into the network, nobody else can see what's going on there.
There's a really interesting offshoot of behavioral sciences that I think directly plays in here. There's a scientific term for what Hollywood is engaged in, because of course, yes, there is a public-facing reason for Plex stuff. And the core question we're asking is, why isn't Hollywood putting their money where their mouth is? And I believe the technical answer is they are, a bunch of hypocrites. There it is, right there. Yeah, because when you work at the movie-making factory land, you don't perceive that you ever would have to pay an admission fee. You work for the parks. Why should you ever pay for it? So all of them are all sharing their Plex servers. They're all using it to access everything. But ultimately, Hollywood doesn't even care about the quote-unquote actual losses of piracy. They are in the reputation business. And if a company has the audacity to shine a spotlight on the fact that something can be pirated for money, then they have to shut it down as a face-saving measure. Whereas Plex, because it has that technically surface level way of being, and because they're not rubbing it in their face, and even the phrasing of all this, where like, hey man, we're just paying for server costs or whatever. Nobody said the P word outside of Plex, not the other P word or the PP word, but
any of the P words for that matter. Yeah.
There's so many P words, but the important part is I am convinced that there is a utility to Plex. Hollywood doesn't actually care about piracy. What they do care about is the perception that somebody can jump the turnstile and not pay the admit one fee. That's what they got to shut down when they go after folks.
Yeah, I always think they are not concerned about any actual losses, because most of the people who pirate probably wouldn't have spent that much money anyway on the legitimate stuff. They are worried about it becoming too popular. If they did nothing about Napster and Napster had taken over the world, it would have tanked music sales, right? So they had to fight it to keep it from getting big enough where it would actually impact sales. And I think that's how they feel about a lot of these live sports streaming and piracy stuff. Whereas with Plex has been very good about following the rules while also exploiting the holes in the rules. like a lot of companies, a lot of BitTorrents got very ideological and like, we will never submit. We will go to the wall. And then they got taken down. What Plex said was, oh, you want to sell DRM'd copies of movies? We can do that. And we have a lot of Plex users, and the more Plex users there are more of these DRM copies of movies we can sell to them. And then you're getting them in the tent and they have some DRM stuff, and we'll enforce that DRM. We won't let them share the DRM copies of stuff that they have. We'll only let them share the un-DRM stuff, whatever that may be. And we can't see it because the other thing Plex did was said, we are no longer going to publicly let servers be available. You have to have an invite and get in that way. That was another big one, is they weren't just broadcasting it and saying, look, we're just the server operator, but everybody go share their stuff. They're like, no, you have to share it with limited people you know. And so they have played the game perfectly to let you have a file that doesn't have DRM on it that you may or may not have a legitimate fair use interest in, and they let you share it with a friend as long as it's just a few friends and you're not broadcasting that Plex server to the entire internet. And the Hollywood folks are like, okay, and if you're going to give us money from selling movies and TV shows, and you're going to give us money from free ad-supported channels, it's not in our best interest to crack down too hard because you're not flouting it that hard.
So let's postulate that what we're looking at is a gray market at equilibrium. It's an open market, gray market bazaar but now they're charging an entry fee. But everybody agrees, somebody has to pay for the real estate that this bazaar is located on. Here's my question. If I would assume that at this point, Plex has incredible market share. It has a frictionless experience. Everybody who uses it is very excited about, what clubs they're part of on Plex. And by all accounts, it's phenomenal. I assume at some point the investors want to get paid. So my question to you, Tom, is just how far can they push everything before they tick off Hollywood?
I think that it is more complex than just we're making money off piracy. I think there's a scenario where making people pay for a remote watch pass reduces access to any possible pirated content. And so as long as that number isn't too big, it has to be big enough that Plex actually can turn some revenue and get the investors some money back, which they're doing. They're actually making money, and they're doing all right, but not so big that it seems like they're profiting on piracy. Then I think they sell it as, in fact, it may even be something where Plex is like, yeah, this is going to make us a little money, but that's actually not the biggest way we'll make money. But if we do it, it gets Hollywood off our back because we can say, hey, we're charging people to access these servers. So there are going to be fewer people accessing them because of that. And that's going to lower the piracy that you're worried about. I could actually see Hollywood coming in suggesting this and saying like, hey guys, there's starting to be a few too many Plex servers out there. Could you just put a nominal charge, maybe $2 on it, just to tamp it down a little bit, keeping it from getting out of hand? And Plex going, yep. We want to walk this line really well. So no problem, boss. We got you.
Well, what's interesting is that whatever the very low, very nominal fee is that Plex wants to collect, it definitely is more than zero, which means you're getting some kind of threshold. So there's actually incredible amounts of pricing data about revealed preferences and revealed pricing thresholds. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if some very quiet, hey, we're not going to legally go after you for 6 months if you give us all the data that you have. Then the wizards over in Hollywood can pour over and say, wow, people didn't mind, we saw a spike on this kind of content that we're charging this much. What does that indicate? It indicates that we're charging too much for this content and demand is too soft, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of that can be revealed. That's interesting. But of course, none of those conversations can happen in public.
And actually, Gentlestone points out that a lot of people with Plex servers are just hoarders for is an unkind word, but collectors
No,
is a nice
matter
word.
of fact,
Who like they just want to use Plex to back up all their physical media so they can easily access it, and maybe they share it with a couple people, but they're really not the problem. And maybe Hollywood knows that. Like, yeah, a lot of these people are just using their Plex servers in a responsible way, and that we're fine with that because they're actually going out and buying physical media, which not that many people are.
Yeah, I want to say we just did a Modern Rogue episode where I took a tour of a VHS 4-story tower, and I think there was like 55,000 tapes in there. Number one comment over and over again is like, please digitize all these. It would be bad if this burned down.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, but the point being, like, there are a lot of responsible customers using Plex versus somebody who's just got folders and folders from a BitTorrent client that's not anything they ever owned. So I think that plays in a little bit too. It is, may I say, complex to understand the situation because there's a lot of moving parts here. And it is really unique that Plex has this reputation, but has not been cracked down on and has been slowly building a legitimate business on top of it. I think $2 is also picked because a lot of people are going to go, well, I don't love that they're charging, but I do like Plex and they've been really good to me. And $2 isn't that much comparatively to the $25 Netflix charges me. So sure, I'll pay $2 for that. No problem.
So let's ask, we'll see whether or not these turn out to be accurate predictions, but I want everybody who is a Plex pirate, I grant you an anonymity and amnesty in our hearts. Write us at cordkillers@gmail.com and tell us how much your secret threshold would be before you would not pay. Like if you could legit use Plex exactly as you're using it today, but it was $1, $5, $7.
Now,
$20.
are we talking about, because a lot of people just use it themselves and they never share it. So are we talking about them or are we just talking about the people?
I want to hear all of these stories because these are waters I don't swim in anymore. And so bring me all the hot gossip from the gray market bazaar. Hit us up at cordkillers@gmail.com.
Yeah. A friend of mine just shared his Plex server with me, by the way. So in order to afford that $2, I'm going to need a raise, Brian.
Oh, well, let me go to the bosses. Hey, listen, I don't want to be the hard ass here, but Tom is crying poor. We're going to need all you guys to go to patreon.com/cordkillers. That's how you guys keep us loud, live, and independent. But don't worry, we're going to get you something for that $2 an episode. You're going to get early access to the full experience. You're going to get exclusive access to our After Talk segment, where we go in detail with stuff we're actively watching right now. Remember, spoiler in time? We're still doing it. It's just for the patrons only inside of the After Talk segment at patreon.com/cordkillers.
Yeah. And you can store it on your Plex server if you want.
That's right.
Oh, it's now time for the search party. Man, find someone who looks at you the way FX does at Noah Hawley. FX has ordered a series adaptation of Ubisoft's Far Cry video game from Noah Hawley and Rob Mack, the former Rob McElhenney. Variety has learned that Mack is going to star in it as well. Series will stream on Hulu because FX Hulu in the United States and on Disney Plus because Disney Plus Hulu internationally.
Now, obviously, we're talking about a very beloved property here, and it's a bit of a contentious debate. Tom, where do you come down on the dividing line of whether or not changing his last name to Mac was a douche move or not?
I'm pretty close to the center. I guess I'm slightly on the right of like, hey man, it's Rob's name. If he wants us to call him Rob Mack, I'm fine with that. Like
my guess is it's a little bit similar to when Teller became just a one name.
Yeah,
because that's what everybody was already calling him. It just became official.
So that I'm fine. I'm fine with that. It's there was a little bit of like, really, but I was like, it's call. If he wants to be called Mac, I'll call him Mac.
But I'll tell you what, man. Far Cry is one of my most top 10 beloved franchise. Far Cry 3, I went all the way down the rabbit hole, racked up hundreds of hours of completionist, crafting every single aspect of the whole thing. I think this is a rich space to play in where you got factions, you've got different styles at play. And if Noah Hawley's work with Alien Earth is any indication, boy, are we in for a treat with whatever he does here.
Yeah, no, Noah Hawley's got a long pedigree, so I'm very excited he's involved. And Rob Mack knows games, as he has shown in his Apple TV show as well. So I feel like he's a good combo choice here. Maybe it's going to have a little wink and a nod with Mack involved, but yeah, that's all positive stuff for me. All right, let's get into some Schadenfreude. HBO Max has launched a remastered 4K version of Mad Men, but the new resolution lets you see just a bit too much. For example, in season 1, episode 7, Red in the Face, there's a scene where Roger Sterling, played by John Slattery, throws up oysters. In the 4K version, you could see, oh no, it's not what you think. It's not the oysters. You could see the crew member operating the vomit pump off to the side. This wasn't because of the 4K. It wasn't like, well, in HD, you just couldn't see them. No, this was just an entirely different source that hadn't masked out the crew member operating the vomit pump. Source told Hollywood Reporter that Lionsgate, which produced Mad Men for AMC, gave HBO Max the wrong file.
That's amazing. The only way this could have been better is if it was tied with the Amazon X-ray feature or something. Then it would be super on the nose.
One of the other scenes shows Peggy walking down the street past a store advertising SIM cards. Ha! So it looks like they were like, oh, you want the 4K version? Here you go. Oh, we forgot. That's all source files that had no effects done to it.
And also keep in mind for fast turnaround in VFX, the 1080p, for example, our friends over at Film Riot, they in some interview were talking about how they do everything in 1080p so that because it's just so much faster to render everything and clean it all up.
Yeah, so that crew member has had his 15 minutes of fame. Amazon Fallout Season 1, if you never saw it on Prime Video, maybe you don't have Amazon Prime, is now streaming for free on Samsung TV Plus, which of course you can watch on a Samsung TV, but you can also watch it in a browser. That'll be available from now through December 25th. If you want to catch up on Fallout for free, you can do it on Samsung TV Plus.
Highly recommended.
NBC News is readying its own ad-free subscription streaming service. This would go alongside Fox Nation and CNN Plus. The new service will make all NBC News content, from episodes of linear shows to podcasts and currently available streams, available in a single app. Executives at NBC News expect the offering to be used on the go and place more emphasis on vertical video. I didn't see anything about a subscription fee, though. So it could just be free and ad-supported.
Interesting.
Oh, wait, it's an ad-free subscription streaming service, so it's not going to be free and ad-supported. I just said that. I'm silly. But I don't know how much it's going to cost.
I mean, also, I don't know how passionate either of us are getting about NBC News. Although NBC News, as best I could tell, is not terribly coded one team or the other.
And honestly, I think these are all niche services for news junkies. They know they have NBC News fans, and they're like, well, we can get a few dollars out of them, the way Fox did with Fox Nation, and CNN is hoping to do with its subscription service as well. Yeah. Also, I think part of this is that a lot of stuff in the spin out of Versant from Comcast, a lot of the web property stuff is going away. So NBC News may have its own website that it wants to promote. And if you're doing a news website these days, like if you're the Wall Street Journal or CNN, you putting a lot of stuff behind a paywall that people will pay for. So there's probably that part of it as well.
Yeah.
Netflix is going to show the Stranger Things finale in more theaters. We already knew they were showing it in theaters, but they have added 150 screenings. So it'll be a total of 500 U.S. theaters showing the finale of Stranger Things on December 31st. I'm guessing a lot of those are AMC theaters, since those two just made up. There were 59.6 million views for Volume 1 of the final season, which came out right before Thanksgiving in the U.S. That set a record in viewership for the premiere week of any English language show on Netflix.
That's huge. What if, so the news a week ago was there was one I guess shitty movie facts on Reddit. The tagline was, fun fact, Stranger Things spent $480 million so it could look terrible, and then it showed a screenshot of like it's a bit uneven in the application of its VFX budget, but in this case, wouldn't it be amazing if the public gestalt was enough? Because this is the end of a big era. And I think a lot of Stranger Things fans are all going to come out. What if they just made an extraordinary amount of their money back in the theater, the one place that Netflix was not aiming for?
Yeah, this is incremental revenue for Netflix. I never really thought as much about that, right? Like Netflix is hitting saturation on subscribers, especially in the United States. But if you can get the subscriber to go out and spend $15-$20 at the theater to watch your finale, well, now you've made a couple more bucks.
And the crazy part is it will be a superior, it's you're getting them to pay twice for it, and the experience will be better for it.
Yeah. I mean, depending, right? Like a lot of people are like, I don't care about the video quality. I care about being able to hear the audio, and I'm in that theater with a bunch of people talking. Screw that. I'm going to watch it at home. That's fine. You can do that too. Netflix is like, we don't care as long as you watch it somewhere. So yeah, I think I'll be curious what the attendance is and whether Stranger Things, 500 theaters, it could show up on the box office charts. It could be in the top 5, if not possibly win that weekend, depending on how it all plays out. I'll also say, I'll give you, you know what? Hold on till later in the show. I'll tell you what I thought of Stranger Things because Eileen and I watched those first 4 episodes. Amazon's God of War adaptation gets a 2-season order. It hasn't premiered. This is from the get. They're saying, give us 2 seasons at once. A guy named Frederick E.O. Toye will direct the first 2 episodes. Toye has led episodes on Fallout, The Boys, and Westworld. He worked on Shogun, got an Emmy for that. And the show, of course, God of War, is based on the video game God of War, specifically the 2018 God of War video game, which is about Norse mythology.
Yeah. Amazon, if only they had a playbook of how to take a beloved video game franchise and make it just awesome.
Yeah. Netflix released its annual Fireplace videos, and it's got 3 new ones this year. K-pop Demon Hunters, Stranger Things, and Wednesday. So if you want to have a Yule log that is themed around a Netflix property, well, here you go. Now you can. AMC Networks. Oh, did you hear the CEO of AMC Theaters had a stroke?
What?
By the way, this is not in the rundown. It just reminded me that, the head of AMC Theaters had a stroke.
Tom, we're going to pull back the curtain for a moment. The moment you said that, the way you said it, I ran through like 75 punchlines trying to predict which one.
No, that's just news. And apparently he's doing fine and still in charge of the company and all that. Anyway, well, because I was about to do the AMC Networks, like this is the TV network, not the theater chain. And I'm like, oh, that reminds me. I just saw that news about the theater chain. Anyway, we are talking about the TV network. AMC Networks announced Tuesday it's going to carry wrestling. TNA Wrestling, the competitor to WWE, starting in January, Thursday Night Impact on AMC, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern, starting January 15th.
Truly American movie classics, Tom.
Yep. That's the KFCing of AMC Networks. We got a trailer for Culinary Class Wars, which was a show that I very much enjoyed. Season 2 is coming out and will return on December 16th. Zootopia 2 brought in $556 million worldwide at the box office, half of which came from China. Domestic U.S. movies have not been doing that well in China lately, so this is a return of U.S. movies to doing well at the box office there. And Netflix announced it is going to take BBC, or former BBC presenter Gary Lineker, on to do a World Cup show called The Rest is Football. It's basically a version of his podcast, The Rest is Football, but doing a World Cup version on Netflix during the World Cup. Netflix doesn't have the World Cup in most regions, but it will have Gary Lineker talking about it.
Interesting.
Is it?
No.
Okay. Then let's move on to buried treasure.
Most people want to know why they suddenly got rich.
Buried treasure.
Buried Treasure is the segment of the show where we talk about something we've been watching that we think maybe you'd like to watch too if you didn't already know about it. Brian, what you watching?
Dude, so this was a very, very busy travel week, but there was a brief respite. I did rewatch all the episodes of Pluribus again with Bill and Brittany Duran at Punish Props fame, but they got me. We must have spent like 2 hours watching. Have you seen the video game Arc Raiders played yet?
No, I haven't.
It's one of those games where there's a moment, everyone gets in, you collect a bunch of loot and get out, but everybody... It has a proximity voice thing. All the chat is with your voice, and you have to physically get close to have a conversation. Everybody could cooperate or default on the prisoner's dilemma, turn around and shoot you in the back, and then steal all of your loot. So as a result, there is a fascinating microcosm of all of these fast negotiations to team up for very limited amounts of time, and then the inevitable betrayal. Watch any kind of collection of these, Tom. It is incredible. They're 30-second dramas, depending on the way they talk about it. You get to see comeuppance, you get to see revenge, you get to see, there's one case where in general, you're at a disadvantage if you don't have a mic hooked up because everyone just assumes that you're a bad faith actor. But in this case, two people who didn't have mics, they were able to convey supplicancy by bowing to each other, by crouching, and then they were able to take out a bad guy. It's extraordinary. It's really great.
Who's going to turn it into a TV show for Amazon?
I don't know. Maybe me.
Yeah, you should. All right. I sat down to watch Stranger Things on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. We watched the first episode. We actually watched the recap, because we're like, we don't remember where we were. And that was very helpful. Netflix's recap was good. I believe this one was human made at this point still. And then we're like, okay, that reminded me of all the things that happened last season. Now I remember. Let's watch. We watched the first episode. Eileen was like, how many are there? I'm like, 4. She's like, oh, it's perfect. We can watch one a day, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then we'll have it done in the weekend. Thursday evening, after all the Thanksgiving festivities were done, we sat down to watch the second episode of season 5. And at the end, we were like, well, we could just watch the next one. And at the end of that one, we're like, well, there's only one more. We might as well finish it. And we're like, at the end of that one, we're like, that was pretty good. I'd watch another one if they had them out. So I have kept watching Stranger Things. I have been less enthusiastic about it in seasons 3 and 4. Season 5 brought me back. A lot of action, a lot of good execution on the characters that they've built up and that we've started to love. So I can recommend season 5 so far. I mean, we still got 5 more episodes to go, or 4 more episodes to go.
Boy, you know what I've heard is so believable is that those middle-aged men are still in high school.
I mean, yeah, sure. Okay. Like if you're going to get hung up on that, don't watch it.
No,
because they definitely look a little older than maybe a high schooler should look, but it's not crazy. It's not like they don't look like middle-aged men. Well, I guess the one who is middle-aged does. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think Winona Ryder looks younger. I don't know if they de-aged her or if she's just been, taking care of her face.
Well, she think about this, like Winona Ryder, her star has re-risen on that. And so similar to Anna Gunn in Breaking Bad, suddenly she starts looking fabulous in there.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
No, it's good stuff. If you got something we should be on the lookout for, email us, cordkillers@gmail.com. And then as soon as you're done with that, go check out what Brian's got cooking.
Dude, Tom, okay, look, all things being equal, I should have put together the world's perfect Christmas morning magic kit. It would be an unreasonable set of goals. Have I already told you about what the perfect kit would look like?
No,
perfect
explain
magic kit. So when I was 8 years old, 1983, I guess, I got a Siegfried and Roy magic kit. I did what every kid did, which is ignore everything, immediately open it up and tell everyone I was going to do a magic show. And it was terrible, right? And
Sure.
so ever since then, I've thought, well, what would the perfect kit look like? It, first of all, would be something that a kid could open 30 minutes later, perform a show and have it be good. It would, second of all, this is where it gets outrageous. The magic would be so good that a touring working professional could look at it and say, yeah, these are all tricks I would do in my walk around set for for pay. And then on top of that, it would be a ridiculous value. I mean, a single bill that's in your wallet right this minute. No, not a 50 either. I kid you not, Tom. We found it. We found it, and I tested it on Callie. Don't tell the truancy officer, but I took Callie out of school for a day just to test everything on her. She was able to perform all of the tricks. They were performed by Alex Rangel, professional magician. And get this, the whole kit, $20. You get 3 killer magic tricks and a Swiss Army trick. You get a special marked deck of cards that you could do 1,000 different tricks with. $20 freaking dollars. Now, I'm the one who showed up too late for this. Yeah, I didn't invent it. I'm not in the videos. The videos are amazing, by the way. The props are incredible. The one thing I could do is give it my full-throated stamp of approval and say, get ready for this, Tom. My favorite thing, the way I know I'm onto something good is when I propose something and Bonnie says, we're going to lose all our money on it. I offer a 110% money back guarantee on this. In fact, if you go to 110.scamstuff.com, you'll see the 110% guaranteed. I'm calling it an unreasonably good magic kit with 4 tricks in there. It is absolutely fantastic. It is 100% Callie approved. Get it right now. Get it for Christmas. Do yourself a favor. Buy 5 of them. Like, let's say you have a 5 or a 9-year-old that you want to get them a kit for Christmas. It'll be an amazing thing. And my challenge to everybody is get video of your kids doing this because they're going to look better than I did.
Yeah. Enough of those 4 and 8-year-olds. The 5 and 9-year-olds are
That's where the action is.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if my nieces were coming to my house for the last week of December, I'd want to be entertained by them somehow while they're here. And if I could be guaranteed in 30 minutes they could do a magic show, I'd be pretty interested in seeing how that all worked out. So you know what? I heard about something like this on the episode of World's Greatest Con that came out this week. So now that I've heard about it here as well, I'm going to check this out. Where do I go again?
110.scamstuff.com.
Fantastic. Let's go scan the horizon now.
Scanning.
Send a scanning to a board.
Scanning the horizon!
Scamming the horizon. Warner Brothers Discovery asked for new bids. They were due on Monday, and so the details have started leaking out. It's time to check in on the horse race for who's gonna buy Warner Brothers. Comcast has offered to merge Warner into NBC Universal and merge HBO Max into Peacock. That is in the details of the offer, and that's valuable because it's like, look, shareholders, we're going to make really good use of this new IP. Warner Brothers shareholders would receive a combination of cash and stock in the new combined NBC Universal Warner Brothers. So we'll get you some cash, and then we'll give you some stock of this new combined thing that's got to be a hit when it's got the entire NBC catalog and HBO Max together. And apparently they offered Chief Executive Officer David Zaslav a management role with the new entity. So that would mean like, hey, David, talk this up to your friends. You're going to be part of this once we do this. I know you wanted to stay as CEO of the Warner Brothers studio when you're going to split. Basically, you'll be doing that, but also have Universal. Come on over. So that's the Comcast offer. Netflix made an all cash offer. Right? They're those people that came in and were just like, we've got a suitcase full of cash. If you would like to just give us Warner Brothers Discovery now, no worries. You take your money and you won't have to worry about anything else. They also promised to merge HBO Max and Netflix, and to stave off concerns about regulatory antitrust stuff, they pointed out that this would actually bring down prices for consumers, because they would just put HBO Max and Netflix, and suddenly what you're paying for Netflix is now what you're paying for Netflix and HBO Max. So apparently Netflix is right now the leading bidder, at least according to how Warner Brothers values the offers. That's what CNBC says their sources are telling them, is that Warner is leaning Netflix at this point. Paramount has been trying to get the whole thing. Netflix and Comcast just want the movie studio and HBO Max. Paramount wants all the old Discovery networks, all the TV networks and everything as well, and is mad. Paramount sent a letter to Warner Brothers board claiming that Warner Brothers Discovery, quote, embarked on a myopic process with a predetermined outcome that favors a single bidder. And according to Variety, that means Netflix. Supposedly, Zaslav offered a co-CEO role in Paramount as well. So by my counting, Paramount and Comcast have offered Zaslav a role, and Paramount is saying that Netflix offered Zaslav a role. So I guess Zaslav works out fine no matter what. And Paramount wouldn't be this upset, I don't think, if it wasn't Netflix.
Yeah, we can definitely confirm that Zaslav was the winner of the negotiations in advance. We're already calling the race. I do think the Comcast offer is really interesting because if you can't compete straight up in a bidding war, I like the idea of a spicy gamble where you tell a story about how much better this new company will be and you allow shareholders to participate in the next iteration of it. I think that there's going to be a strong buy. I wouldn't be surprised if Comcast takes it based on the strength of that novelty of the offer.
I am always of the opinion that Comcast gets into these things often because they just want to get a look at the books. And you have to have a compelling offer or you get sued for looking at the books and not having a legitimate offer. But when I read this, I was like, ooh, HBO Max would save Peacock. Like, it might be worth it for Comcast to be serious about this because Peacock's doing okay and it's growing on a long-term scale. But man, HBO Max would just turn it into a success overnight. Whereas Netflix doesn't need HBO Max. Netflix is doing fine without it. It would just do better if it did have it.
At this point, it would be charitable to call Peacock the Royal Crown soda of the streaming wars.
It's Shasta.
Shasta, yes. It's Nazi Coke or Fanta. That's what it
is.
Fanta. Shasta's even worse.
So I'm starting to think maybe Comcast is more serious than I had given them credit for before. And I'm surprised that Netflix is the leader. I thought Netflix would be like, we really want it, but we probably won't get it. And it seems like they have swayed some people, but we'll find out next week, apparently.
Netflix is the jerk at the strip club who just wanted to buy a single lap dance, but then a bunch of hundreds fell out of his wallet. And they're like, oh, oops. I guess
I just bought HBO Max. Yeah. I don't know why I say this, but I kind of want Netflix to get it. I don't know why. That's just my gut feeling is like, I'd be happy if Netflix and HBO Max were all in one place. I think just as a consumer, it'd be like, oh, that would be nice to just have them all in one interface.
Yeah, that feels a little bit close to cheering for the Yankees to win, but I could be on board
No,
with
I know.
That. Certainly.
There's all kinds of ways that I'm like, why do I feel that way? But that is my legitimate, like, selfish gut feeling, and I'm not sure why.
There also is something to be said about, like, they Babe Ruthed it. They called their shot. They're like, yeah, we're going to be HBO. And then they did it so hard that they're like, yeah, we won so hard that we bought HBO. I liked it so much, I bought the company.
There is a storyline where, like, the only reason Netflix wants to buy all of Warner Brothers Discovery is so that they can own HBO and say, we not only became HBO, we now literally own HBO.
Yeah.
They would like that studio lot too. Warner Brothers has a very nice studio lot, which Netflix would take good advantage of. So I think that's a huge part of it. Now a reason to hate Netflix. Netflix no longer supports Chromecast, aka Cast, for pretty much any TV or streaming device. If you have a few older Chromecasts, there's like 3 older models. Basically, if you have a Chromecast dongle that doesn't have a remote, Netflix says it will continue to support Cast on those. But if you have a remote, they want you to log into the TV app and use the TV remote to navigate your way around Netflix instead of casting. They got rid of AirPlay 2019. Now they're getting rid of Cast.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Why does it make sense to you?
Because they are not obligated to, nor do they have the resources, giant $100 bills all over the strip club floor notwithstanding, to infinitely support every underpowered device. Because keep in mind, it degrades their brand value.
But they're supporting the underpowered devices. They're saying we won't support the new devices.
Yeah, okay, you're right. That is a jerk move.
Yeah, I think Rob Dunwood has been saying this is a cash grab. This is a way for them to increase the number of people who pay for Netflix because he has 2 houses and when he goes to the other house, he usually just uses his phone to cast. And he's like, with this, I would have to log in on Netflix and they're going to know that I'm in a different location. And my argument was like, well, they're going to know you're in a different location on the phone too. He's like, yeah, but I used to log into Netflix at the second house and they started giving me the warning screens. They never give me the warning screens when I'm on my phone.
I'm totally on Rob's side on this because I've been driven batty by the fact that, I use browsers to log in on all this stuff. And for some reason, one computer just refuses to accept that I'm doing it from
your own
location.
House. Yeah. So he's starting to sway me a little bit, but I do think a big part of this, if not the biggest part, is Netflix just wants to control the interface. Mm-hmm. When you're on mobile, they give you different recommendations that are suited to mobile. Right. And when you're on a TV, they give you recommendations like these things look good on a TV. And so they want to make you use a TV when you have a TV rather than getting the mobile recommendations and then watching it on a TV.
Now that's interesting because there is a credible case for that. It's like, look, you don't force us to give you a degraded experience by suggesting, distraction TV when what you should be watching is prestige movies.
Although, I mean, come on, like let me, the customer, cast where I want. And if I'm casting, then change the freaking recommendations you give me on mobile, right?
Look, I'm about to sue you for whiplash. I keep going back and forth on this.
Yeah, no, I whatever position you take, I'll take the other side. You know that about me, right? If you have access to Amazon's newest advanced voice assistant, Amazon Prime Video, and one of Amazon's Fire TV devices, you got to have all 3 of those, you can now describe a scene from a movie and it will take you right to that scene. So some examples are jump to the boulder chase scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark, or jump to the scene in Red One where Santa flies over the city. Amazon says this will work on a few thousand movies and they're adding new ones all the time.
There is so much stupid in the world of the emerging market for Gen AI, but one thing it is extraordinarily good at is that tip of the tongue. You can almost half remember, and you just blurt out a word salad and it knows exactly or is able to find exactly what you're talking about. So this seems like a slam dunk.
Prime Video also pulled some AI-generated anime dubs that they had put out in beta for the Banana Fish series and the movie No Game, No Life, Zero, because people were making fun of them sounding pretty boring, like not well acted. I actually listened to them and I'm like, I sort of get what they're saying, but also sometimes anime just sounds like that to me. Anyway, Gizmodo reported that several of the English language AI dubs for anime have now been removed. However, some of them do remain, depending on the language and the property. HBO Max will launch in Italy, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Luxembourg, and Liechtenstein on January 13th. So they've almost launched HBO Max in all of Europe, just those tiny little nations of the UK and Ireland to go.
Interesting. I'm surprised that it was this late.
And then did you get your YouTube recap of videos? Not just YouTube music this year. You get a recap of your favorite channels, how many minutes you watched, what your favorite genres are. When you're on the YouTube mobile app, it'll just pop up or you can go to your settings to see it, your profile, or you go to youtube.com/recap. It'll pop up that way.
Tom, how do you think Brian Brushwood responded to the press release that said, Brian Brushwood, we're YouTube. We got your number. I don't like any of that customized, personalized stuff.
Yeah. I, on the other hand, ate it up and was like, nope, you're wrong. Nope, totally wrong. Well, that one's actually pretty right. So, it's always fun, depending on who you are. Now, hold please for the chatter.
Got mail.
So we got an email from Sean that said, Tom, Brian, and Amos, I watched Thelma this past Thanksgiving weekend and was shocked that this independent film didn't rack up more awards and nominations. This movie has June Squibb, known from Nebraska, and a plethora of titles where she played the spunky grandma, and Richard Roundtree's final acting role. My wife and I paused the movie no less than 3 times to express to each other how great a movie this is. There's laugh out loud moments, realistic stakes, the intrigue of a spy movie, a poignant perspective that is subtly couched through the narrative. A typical action movie has the protagonist on the ledge of a skyscraper, while this has a nonagenarian protagonist at risk of dying by simply going upstairs unnoticed with a loose rug on the steps. This movie poses the question of, do we become helpless babies because we are treated as if we need an abundance of assistance, or are we just fighting the inevitability that no matter our age, we need help, but it is difficult to know the exact right amount of help?
That sounds great. I'll have to check that out.
I went through various stages of believing Sean and not believing Sean during his...
Yeah, right. I had to check because it occurred to me, like, we tend to take on good faith that anybody who writes us at courtkillers@gmail.com, probably not doing it on a lark to mess with us. But then about halfway through, I was like, are we being punked? Let me just real quick dig that out.
Is that a real movie? So thank you, Sean. We do end up believing you, just to be clear. Thank you to John also, who sent us this. Sorry, but it had to be done. Happy Thanksgiving. And it is a fantastic 4 and 8-year-olds movie poster with 4 children. I assume 2 of them are 8 and 2 of them are 4.
So, I mean, you call that AI slop. I call that adorable, better than a
It's so
Photoshop.
cute. AI adorable.
Ha!
And then finally, John in Kentucky, 2 thoughts on Pluribus. At the end of episode 5, Got Milk, her reaction of shock reminded me of the scene where Charlton Heston discovered what Soylent Green was, just saying. And at the beginning of the series, I was thinking that if not for these dozen unconverted people, there would never be any need again for verbal communication. But then I thought that perhaps they might need to interact and call out to some animals.
Ooh, I'll tell you what, this will be the kind of thing that we talk about in Spoiler in Time exclusively for our patrons who go to patreon.com/cordkillers and listen to After Talk.
We're going to go do that right now. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. And we are live on twitch.tv/nightattack and youtube.com/modernrogue Tuesdays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific. I reckon we'll talk better next time.
Ha!
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
So, Brian has what they call in the business a hard out. So I'm going to wait until he comes back from his coffee run to figure out what we're going to do next. Could be full experience, and after talk, could be just after talk, could be neither. He might be like, screw you all, I'm done with you.
On second thought, I gotta go.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a low possibility, but just covering all the bases. So
Yeah.
no, not a hard out to make coffee, a hard out later in like 30 minutes. But right now he's making Soylent Green. I mean coffee.
But is his heart out in 30 minutes, or is his heart out prior to the 30 minutes to prepare for the thing that he has in 30 minutes?
The coffee will come back out in 30 minutes.
We might as well just kill a stream now.
Speaking of streams, it does make me want to have coffee just saying the word coffee that many times. So as soon as we're done, I'm going to go make some coffee as well. I like all kinds of coffee, by the way. I am the opposite of a coffee snob. I like the really good coffee.
A coffee
I like
slut.
I'm a coffee slut. That is exactly what I am. Machine made, instant. I don't care. So what are we doing, Brian?
I'm going to go clean my driveway.
We're going to roll straight into the full experience.
All right, let's do it.
Boom.
Welcome to The Full Experience. This is the show where we watch 4 episodes of a TV series to see if we can get a handle on the entire run of the TV series. We watch the first and the last episodes, but we also look at the IMDb ratings and pick the ultimate and the lowest episode. And this week, we are watching the worst episode of Taxi, according to the ratings on IMDb, Season 4, Episode 2, Vienna Waits, from October 15th, 1981. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood. Brian.
Hey, man. So one of my favorite things about the Full Experience is that we get to figure out, why is this the worst? What is so terrible about it? And I had made the pitch that I was convinced that Vienna Waits was going to be a clip show, that they were going to be like stuck
Often the case,
in an airport or something like that. Turns out it is a perfectly fine standalone episode, Tom. I thought, I could not believe this was a substantial answer to a will they, won't they kind of thing, and it ends up being a friendly fling in Europe. Where there are different set pieces. There's actual interesting, self-reflection on the nature of friendships that are something more, especially a May-December kind of thing. A neurotic lout who just, has romantic visions. And I don't know. I thought it was kind of adorable and wonderful. Now, granted, I watched it on a phone on an airplane, so maybe that had something to do with it, but this seemed fine.
I mean, I watched it on my couch with no interruptions or distractions on a big old TV. And my final note was, that was sweet. If that's the worst Taxi was pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. And maybe it got dinged just for being same. And I would imagine some people would throw in some 1-star reviews because they wanted it to be more firmly, they get married and go off into the sunset.
Sure.
Or they decided, or maybe there's a puritanical casual sex not okay
maybe
thing. I don't know.
I don't think Taxi's viewership would have minded that so much, but maybe. I was wondering if, the fact that they basically gave Danny DeVito and Tony Danza and Christopher Lloyd their contractually obligated lines, and then the rest of the show was Judd Hirsch and Marilu Henner. Maybe people were like, oh, I don't want just those two. I want the whole crew. I don't want them to be in Europe. I want them to be in New York. Like, maybe people just didn't like that they went somewhere else and limited who we got to see.
You know what?
Wonder if
that's
part
a good theory. So let's try that on for size. If you ask people who have watched all of Taxi to describe their 20 favorite plot lines, I wouldn't be surprised if not even on that list was the Judd Hirsch, Marilu Henner aspect to it. So if that's the case, then it's just a reflection of it being the least popular plot line, and then an entire episode about it.
Right. And it's like, I didn't like that plot line all that much. And going back to your theories, maybe it's that they didn't get together or they didn't have a falling out. At the end, they just kind of stayed friends, right?
You know what? Also, you spend an awful lot of that episode just being sad for Judd Hirsch.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. I also considered the possibility that the tropes about Europe here are so dated that I'm like, yeah, okay, it's from 1981. These are old ways of looking at Europe. Maybe they were old in 1981 and people were digging it for that too. And like, no, this is a dumb way to look at Europe.
You're right. Early 80s, it's around the time to subvert. You probably should be thinking of more than baguettes when you think of France.
Yeah, and sexy Greeks and Greek fishermen or whatever that was supposed to be. Like there were some moments that I'm like, okay, this guitar, playing Vienna Waits, and then we actually get the Billy Joel Vienna Waits right after. I'm like,
what's funny is I'm sure we went through the same thing where it's like, I'm like, oh, couldn't have paid for the license, could you? And they're like, apparently you could.
Oh, but you did. So yeah. I don't know. This was the first time I noticed that the drive across the bridge in the opening credits is a few seconds edited in a loop until the very end.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I hadn't noticed it till this viewing, but I was like, wait, I think I saw a jump. And it's like, yeah, there's like a couple of seconds of them coming across the bridge and then turning, but they loop it until you get to the end of the theme music, and then you let them go do the turn. So I was
How very Ed Wood of them.
I know.
to use the whole Buffalo.
Yeah, there was a stupid line from Danny DeVito about being on your back with the Sistine Chapel.
Oh,
that was fine.
It's fine.
I don't think that makes it the worst episode of Taxi.
What's funny is that line seems very spicy for Taxi as I think of it as a 70s institution, but it seems very tame if I tell you it's an 80s sitcom
81,
gag.
Obviously, the hilariously big coach seats on the plane
the
are always
stable
fun.
flight.
Yeah, was the Rubik's Cube like product placement? Like,
no, that was Pac-Man and Rubik's Cube.
I know it's huge, but yeah.
No, it was.
Was that just a joke
huge.
that it was so huge even Judd Hirsch would take it on his romantic trip to Europe with him?
It was so huge that it was considered a net positive for the story to mention. It would be like 6-7.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Which, by the way, next year's seniors will be the class of 2026, 2027, or 06, 07. It was pointed out to me today. This was fine. This was a fine episode. I like the way they start. It was telegraphed and I knew where it was going, but I still liked it. That it's like Judd Hirsch is like, well, I might be off doing all my own things and you'll be left alone. And then of course they flipped it and she was off doing all her own things and he was left alone.
Well, and I think also we're kind of, maybe that's part of the reason that it was poorly rated was because we're at the sunset. They're acting. If this was 1960s, MASH or whatever, the trope of the male centric vision of the romantic image would have been just fine. But I think it had aged out a bit in 81, and it was a little bit late to say, what a surprise, the woman.
And also, a lot of these IMDb ratings are coming now. Right. It's it's not like IMDb was around in 81 to collect these ratings. So this is all being rated through a modern perspective for the most part.
Maybe that's what it is its sentiment was just a bit aged out.
Yeah, I can see that. But again, I hold to it. If this is the worst Taxi's got to offer, Taxi was a pretty great show.
And not for nothing, yes, we all smelled the jealousy coming. They foreshadowed it very, very well in advance, but by the end, I didn't know if a casual hookup would be on the menu or whatever. I was as surprised and delighted as Judd Hirsch was.
Well, maybe not quite as
good for
delighted.
You get to touch a lady.
Yeah, but I'm happy for him, if nothing else. All right, so we are almost to the end of our drive through Taxi. We are going to watch the last episode of Taxi, season 5, episode 24, Simka's Monthlies. Simka is, of course, Latka's love interest, which I think we saw her briefly. She's played by Carol Kane. I think we saw her briefly once, but we haven't really been formally introduced. But that is the name of the final episode from June 1983, Simka's Monthlies.
Awesome.
All right. If you'd like to get these episodes a little earlier than Simka's Monthlies, or even earlier than other people who get them as a regular podcast, become a patron, which you can do at patreon.com/cordkillers. There's no excuse. You will take you like 2 seconds. So if you're not already a patron, just go do it right now. Patreon.com/cordkillers. And then you'll feel so much better when you come back next time for an early look at the final episode of the full experience of Taxi, Simka's Monthlies. Until then, may all of your driving be safe driving.
Yeah. Bye.
All right, are we going to do it? We're going to have to talk it?
Yeah, we're going to go straight into After Talk. So we'll see you guys. Thank you,
Bye,
live
everybody.
folks.